Welcome, and thank you for watching Hobbies Reviews. Today we're looking at the CYMA M4 CQB-R. This is a shorter version of the standard M4, and we're going to be looking at it from the tip of the barrel to the end of the stock, and we're going to be doing kind of a preliminary review on this item. I've had it for about a month, but I haven't shot it too much, maybe a couple hundred rounds. Got it off of evike.com for approximately $120, which is fairly reasonable. And we're going to be looking at doing a performance review at the end of the video, going through all the stats and details. There's a lot of boring stats associated with this that you can look up anywhere. I'll have it in the description below, and you can take a look at them. To start out with, we've got the flash suppressor, and it's orange. I've read that you can actually take it off, and it has a little itty bitty little I don't know, it almost looks like a little pressure screw, or I don't know what to call it, but it looks like it comes off. I haven't tried, so good luck to you doing that. Mine's got a little bit of a factory imperfection, a little swoosh. Don't know what's up with that, but anyway, it's got a standard post sight in the box that comes with an adjustment tool. This is, like most ARs, standard. Even the ones with the flip-up sights are going to have that style of, don't know which direction I'm going here, that style of adjustment where it just kind of turns, pushes down that little knob at the front. And then we've got a standard handguard with Picatinny rail. As you can see, one of the kind of the shortcomings of this gun is it does have a little bit of a rattle. It's a little loose. And this handguard, actually, I should mention, does not come with it. It does not come with that. I actually added that on afterwards, after I got it. And then with the stock, speaking of rattle, got a bit of a rattle there too. It's a little loose, standard crane stock, but we'll get that in a minute. To take off the handguard, if you so choose to do something else with this, kind of change things up, you just pull this lock ring back and then slide this off. And one of the cool things about it is it actually has an imitation heat shield, which on the real thing would obviously protect your hand from all the heat, excuse me, I can't talk, all the heat generated by firing this weapon. And it actually has an imitation gas tube as well in the top there, which when you take it apart you can see it. Kind of the theme of this gun is that it does have a lot of rattling, so you've got a sling mount right here that rattles, and that imitation gas tube in the top, I've noticed it rattles as well. And then moving on back here, I should say this is all metal right here, and the sight, it's plastic. The outer barrel is metal, and then the upper and lower receiver are made out of aluminum, and I would say the quality is pretty decent. I mean, it's not super high quality. It's a $120 gun, but it's pretty okay. It came with a 250 round high capacity magazine, which as far as high capacity mags go, that's pretty low. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily disappointing, but just something to keep in mind. You're probably going to want a few more of these. And one of the cool things though is that this is metal. It's aluminum. So it feels really good when you're holding it. It's not great to pull out of something because it's very, very slick, but you know, trade-offs. So let's look at the fit here. What does it fit like? Some people are complaining that it's got some shake to it, and it's certainly loose, but I wouldn't say it's super loose. If you shake the thing, you're going to hear more from all these other things that are loose than from the magazine itself. And just to try it with some cross-compatibility, we've got the Evike Banff mag, a mid-cap. Slap it in there and see what happens. Also, this one's actually a little bit more loose. So, but all things considered, I mean, every AR is going to have a loose magazine. Just as an example, to calm down some of the people that have been complaining. Ooh, there we are. Here's a real steel AR. It's a Springfield Armory Saint, so it's a mid-range, and it's not one of the higher ends, but it's certainly not a low-end AR. And just as an illustration, yes, it is empty. I did check it, but it's got a shake to it too. And this is a Generation 3 Magpul. So it just kind of is what happens. And I've made peace with it, and hopefully you can too. So we've got that. And then moving back, we've got a functional bolt release. So the bolt itself, it's operated by what would you call this? I'm blanking on it. Anyway, the lever, slide lever, whatever you want to call it, and it actually operates exactly like a real AR would. Just pulls back and it exposes the bolt. So the bolt actually slides back. Now, of course, it's imitation. This is cheap metal. I would recommend like playing with that a lot because it'll probably break on you. But it reveals the hop-up, and it's a standard rotary style hop-up. Going counterclockwise is going to minimize or reduce the hop, and going clockwise is going to increase the hop. And then to release that, you've got the slide catch. So if I push this button, you'll see it go ahead and slide forward, which is pretty cool. I rather enjoy that little touch of realism. And then you've got the dust cover. Push it closed, and it'll stay closed until you decide to open it back up. That's interesting. So that didn't close all the way. Well, there you go. Revealing some glitches with the thing as we go. Almost looks like I guess that proves my point that playing around with this thing is going to cause it to fail. So anyway, moving on. We've got a plastic grip. I really like how this one fits with the notch for the finger there. And then taking a look at the safety. So we've got a safe, and it's actually got an audible tactile click when you go to safe. Unfortunately, it doesn't when you're at the other ones. It's kind of mushy. But for $120, what do you expect? Then going up to the top here, you've got a fully adjustable and removable rear sight. You just unscrew this and you can pull it off and add whatever you would like to. You could add a scope, you could add basically anything that can be attached to a standard Picatinny rail. Probably, I would say, a scope on something like this is not going to be that beneficial because it just doesn't shoot that far. I mean, it's CQB and it's an AEG. Let's see, what else to talk about? So we had the sling mount in the front. We've got a sling mount, a multi-position sling mount in the back here. One thing I noticed is that this is not bolt, I guess that would be more of a nut, castle nut, or buffer tube nut. It's kind of loose, and if you loosen this, you could potentially remove the buffer tube. I'm not honestly sure, I haven't tried, but what it does do functionally that annoys me is this sling mount becomes loose. So you can just hand tighten it. I suppose maybe if you have a tool you could tighten it a little bit more than hand tight. I haven't really bothered to do that. In the back, as I said, we've got a standard crane stock. One of the cool things is that it actually has a QD mount for a sling, or sling mount. So you can just pop it in there and now you've got extra sling mount if you want it. Which, if you're going to do that, I would always recommend the Magpul. Like 13 bucks, solid, well made. Don't buy it off of Amazon though, because they'll sell you some imitation Chinese garbage. Just pro tip, learn from experience, so learn from my mistakes. And then it's actually wired to the back, so you've got the battery compartment back here, and you pull off the pad, which is actually rubberized, which if it was real and there was actual kick, which an AR, let's be real, doesn't have a lot of kick, it would be kind of nice. Functionally, I find it kind of annoying because it just sticks on my clothing. So just my thoughts on that. Pull this out and it reveals the battery compartment, which would be a standard small Tamiya on there. Let's pull it out, add your battery, and you are ready to roll. Pop it in there. And you're gonna have to do a nunchuck battery or like a small LiPo. I wouldn't go beyond 7.4. The 11.1s could they could mess with the trigger because this doesn't have a MOSFET. Too much power going through there. Push the cables in. Put this compartment back. Oh, I don't want to drop that one. Too much going on here. Anyway, put that back on there and you're good to go. And I should say that so the adjustment on this is done by one of two ways. You can push and pull, which is the standard. You can also pull. Now you want to be careful because if you pull it all the way down and you can actually pull this thing clear off, and that's how you would remove it. So right now it'll just come off if I keep going. And sometimes when you extend and then come back, the wires kind of bunch up here and you can't fully bring it back. It's 6-point adjustable, and since I didn't show this before, this sight is fully adjustable for windage, as I said. We can cause this thing to go all the way over, so now it's stuck all the way to the right. And if I keep going, it'll go all the way to the left, and up and down is controlled by this one right here. Let's see, what else is there to talk about here? I think I've covered most of the things that I've kind of noticed. Now we've got a decibel meter here, and you can see how it's oscillating. It'll show the current decibel right there, and then it'll say the maximum right up there. So we're just going to go ahead and test this thing and see how loud it actually is. Help if it wasn't on safety. Let's reset it. Looks like it's hitting a max of 82 decibels. Yeah, it's right around that range. Taking a look at the chrono, I actually didn't have usable 0.2 gram BBs. So what I did is I used 0.25 and 0.3. So let's take a look here. We've got the spread, we've got 22 different shots, and the average velocity with 0.25 was 323 feet per second, which converting to 0.2, it would be around 375 feet per second. And the spread was actually only 13, so pretty consistent. And then looking at the 0.3 gram BBs, we had 19 total shots that registered, and there was a spread of 29 feet per second at an average of 299 feet per second. One of the interesting things is if you look, you can see that the vast majority are right around 300. In fact, just below 300, but there's one that stands out, and that's shot number 13. And that one's way higher than the rest of them, which probably accounts for the total spread. If you were to take that one out, the spread would probably be about 4 or 5. So that's pretty impressive. Doing the conversion, it's actually just shy of 400 at 399. If you were to take that outlier out, it'd probably maybe be 390 or so. So that's actually pretty close to what they advertise. I'm not sure why there was a difference between the 0.25s and the 0.3s. Maybe it had something to do with fit or size. The only way to know how precise you are is to get your gun in a gun vise. Right here we've got the setup we're going to use both inside and outside. And it's the CTK Precision P3 gun vise. This thing is a beast. You can use it both for cleaning firearms, regular firearms, and as a vise to shoot a gun rest, essentially. And it takes all human error out of the picture. Taking a look at the results at 25 feet, we've got both a 0.25 and the 0.3 gram BBs, and these were shot without any hop up at all in order to find out how much spread there would be based on variables other than the hop up, meaning primarily the barrel and to some extent the BBs, though I would say the BBs are pretty high quality. So we're going to look, and out of 10 shots, there was a spread with 0.25 of going from the middle to the middle. Take a look at that. If it's going to focus, 1.4 inches, which is, honest to goodness, not that bad. And then taking a look at the 0.3s, it looks like it's going to be longest or biggest spread right about there, which is going to put it at just over 1.2 inches, which is quite impressive, I would say. And this area right here was at full auto, about 35 shots. And we can see that the spread, about 1.3 inches. However, there is one little flyer that went all the way down here. So if we factor that one in, it becomes much, much more. Now, who knows what the deal was with that one. But if we're going to add it, it's going to increase it to 3.3 inches. Now, that could have been just the BB. I honestly have no idea what it would have been. But for full auto going, I think it shoots about 15 rounds per second. I'd say that's pretty good. That's a pretty good spread. And then taking a look at the performance outside, we've got, I wonder if we can do something about this, make it a little bit wider. We've got the spread right here. So this was the top, this was the bottom. There was 2 shots that actually went low on the video footage. And then there was a few that went low, but the vast majority actually grouped a little high, and that's because the hop up was a little over hopped. And you can also see a little bit of spread over to this side, and the reason for that was wind. There was actually gusting wind that was going this way, which means it would every once in a while kind of take them this way. So the real distribution would probably have been more around the center top here, which is really not bad. I mean, this is a smaller, I'd say this is actually about 1 foot by 2 feet, and that's definitely torso size. So 2 slight misses just below, it's probably still going to be a hit. And reviewing the video footage at 50 yards, or 50 meters rather, the vast majority were hitting that 2 by 2 foot square. So also not too bad. If you're shooting at that distance, you're probably going to hit your target at 50 meters. And at 70 meters, they were having a really hard time making it there. There was one shot that got pretty close, but not quite. Now, I think if I had lofted them a little bit higher, they probably would have hit. The salient point being at 25 feet, it's basically impossible to miss. At 30 meters, it's unlikely to miss. And if you do, it's probably because you suck. At 50 meters, you're pretty likely to hit. And at 70 meters, well, if you spray and pray, you'll probably hit them. Will they know it? Now that's debatable. But nonetheless, I would say that overall I'm pretty impressed with this gun, and for a shorter barrel and kind of lower quality gun, not too bad. Not too bad. Some final thoughts on this bad boy. I'd say it's a pretty sweet gun. I mean, what can you expect? $120, it's got lots of metal. It looks great, and at the end of the day, if it goes well with the suit, what else can you want, right? But, all joking aside, I mean, the performance is quite good. The groupings are good, shoots great, and I gotta say the hop-up rubber on this thing is quite amazing. Even in cold weather, with 0.3 gram BBs, it was over-hopping the crap out of those things. They were just flying out of control. Consistency, I should say, still can't talk. It's been a thing throughout this video. But anyway, consistency, maybe not the greatest when it comes to hop up. But hey, like I said, $120. I would recommend this thing all day. Great little gun. Go out there and get it. But most of all, enjoy. So thank you so much for watching the video. It's been quite long. I appreciate you hanging out with me. And hopefully I can put out some more content here sooner than later. So take care and happy hunting.